Oh, it's the week of the three H's. It's hazy, hot, and humid. But you know what? That means that it reminds you need to figure out something to spend your summer in enjoyment. Have some fun, a concert, a sporting event, whatever. And to help you out, we have partnered with SeatGeek.com. That's right. You go to that website or you pull up the SeatGeek app. If your ticket purchase for any concert or sporting event you're looking to get to this summer is over 50 bucks, use the promo code GOZ, G O Z, and they'll get you 20 bucks off your order. Again, SeatGeek.com. Your purchase of $50 or more for any tickets to any sporting event, any concert, whatever it may be. Use the promo code GOZ to get yourself 20 bucks off. Again, that's SeatGeek.com. Save some money and enjoy your summer using SeatGeek, or just do what I did and download the app. Makes things a lot easier. And that said, episode 16 of Cady's Corner, rocking and rolling. It's MLB All-Star break time, but also the time is winding down the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League. And as we typically have been doing, over the course of the Amsterdam Mohawk season, we've been bringing in a guest from the Amsterdam Mohawks. And joining us right now is, whoop, there we go. I meant to hit the edit button. That's my bad. We are going to bring in the pitching coach for the Amsterdam Mohawks, a local guy raised in Latham, graduate of Shaker High. The one and only Zach Breen. Zach, welcome into the show. How are you, good sir?
Hey Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Let's start things off with just going back. You were raised in Latham, but you weren't originally from Latham. How did the transition come from your family, where you were born out in Oakland? And how did it work out that you ended up being in Latham when you became when you got older?
Yeah, so born in Oakland. Most of our family was up here, either in New York or somewhere down in Florida, down along the East Coast at least. But um, we just ventured back here. I was real young. I think I turned 4 somewhere across country, but been here ever since. Ended up going away to school in North Carolina for college, but I've pretty much been a local guy for 95% of my life here.
Yeah, and just talking about the journey that eventually led you to where you ended up going to college at Barton. When you were growing up as a kid and eventually make your way through middle school and then to high school, was baseball always your number one focus, or were there other sports kind of in the mix as you were going along as an athlete?
I played a little bit of basketball. It was more for fun, but baseball I loved. I absolutely loved baseball. I got into the travel real young, started playing a ton of games a year. And then some of the injuries piled up. But with that came, you know what? Hey, if I get hurt, I'm willing to get hurt because I love this game, and it just keeps bringing you in. But yeah, baseball has been number one forever.
And obviously, you work your way through high school. You're graduating as a Blue Bison out of Shaker High. Um, Walk us through just the time when you were wrapping up things at Shaker and you were trying to figure out your college decision. What places were you thinking about, and what ultimately led to your decision to at least stay home for the first couple years of your college career?
So my recruitment was pretty simple and pretty clear cut. No pun intended. I had Tommy John my junior year of high school. So that took every bit of recruitment right out the window. So I knew basically my timeline to get healthy was from the fall of 2009 to my senior season, which was in spring 2011, was just to be healthy. That gave myself about 17, 18 months to really get back into it, which is pretty typical nowadays. Um, and the fact I knew as soon as I was healthy, I just wanted a place to go. I knew I was going to go to a community college, and fortunately, I went to Schenectady County Community College, and I played for Tim Andy, and what a great experience that was. Um, Very, very strong turning point in my career was getting to play for him. He challenged me to be better. He challenged me to, really be accountable for what I can do on the mound and expect the best out of me. And ultimately, it was a couple emails that he sent down south, which led me going to North Carolina. But extremely thankful for my time that I got to play for Coach Andy.
Now you brought up the Tommy John surgery. Um, in your recovery, was there any ever a point where you started second guessing yourself about if you really wanted to keep pushing yourself to get back out there, or was this all just, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna keep going, keep my head down, nose to the grindstone, no matter what it takes, I'm getting back out there.
The toughest part for me was the surgery itself. I kind of have a phobia of needles and surgeries and everything. It's just one of my weird phobias. But the toughest part for me was getting surgery. As soon as I got out of surgery, the rest was pretty easy. It was I got this surgery to play baseball. I tackled the tough part. Now let's go get it. At my time, I was 16 when I had it, and there was little data back in 2009, and there wasn't a path for a lot of young guys like myself that were having Tommy John so young. But you know, who cares? It's baseball. You have the surgery, you go through it. Unfortunately, sports are sports. You're going to get hurt at times, but if you love it enough, you just figure out a way to adjust and get better. And um, the whole Tommy John process was probably a turning point in my whole life because at that point I started really studying some things and enlightening myself on, how the body worked and mechanics and, efficiency downhill. And, it kind of helped my way as I went through college and I had a couple good coaches pushing some other good tips on me. And, you know, sometimes you need an outside voice and, I had a couple of good ones, but that was it right there. As soon as I had the Tommy John, I started studying, getting into things, and kind of went hand in hand in my coaching career. Where, now my goal is to get back to the next generation, and hopefully that doesn't happen to the young guys. And I think we figured out some enough science to put people in the best position where they can minimize these things. And again, sports are sports. You're going to get hurt at times, but us as coaches, I feel like we can put our players in the best position for success and health, first and foremost. But it all kind of tied into one big journey, and I'm thankful for all the battles I had to put up with along the way. But here we are.
Hey, and you mentioned like setting guys up for success and keep them healthy, and that kind of just reminds me of these people who were kind of from the old school, from the old days of baseball, who um, they keep questioning about innings limits and pitch counts and all this other stuff that really wasn't being worried about, say even back as recent as I'd say the early 90s roughly.
That's right.
um just guys that went out there and were constantly doing 300, 350 innings, constantly going into the 120s and 130s for pitch counts. I would assume you're on the side of being happy there's been an evolution in that thinking and a greater appreciation by managers and coaches and embracing, bullpen arms and middle relievers and things of that sort. Um, how often do you find yourself getting into those conversations with whether it be older fans or older coaches and just trying to, embrace your viewpoint and your side of things in that regard?
Yeah. So I get into this conversation quite a bit, and the best answer is there's really no exact answer. Everyone's a little bit different. Everyone has a injury history. Everyone's a little bit more flexible than others. Some people are pretty stiff downhill, and some of their flexibility can lead to some things that may pop up along that side of the road. But what I would say as far as innings limits and pitch counts, I mean, you got to be smart. I mean, a lot of people coming off that COVID year didn't get to throw many innings, and then you see a lot of the times next year, last year, people were riddled with injuries. I mean, unfortunately, it was all over. Whether kids weren't doing much, unfortunately, that's the circumstances that we were given. But you know, there's a lot of that goes on to where the body creates a certain amount of conditioning and endurance, and you can't just take that much time off. And it's really hard to get that back, especially anyone will tell you that's played sports for a while. The worst thing you can do is miss a bunch of time because then there's the little bit of timing, the feel. And if your feel isn't quite there, then your timing's off. And if your timing's off, then you put in bad positions and it all down, snowballs from there. Um, but what I would say is, at least what we've done with our team this year, as far as innings go, less is more. We have so much depth and so many arms, and that's kind of what you need if you see successful teams across college, pros, look at how many guys they have in the bullpen that are capable of, throwing, 100, but not even 100, but keeping their walks down, filling it up, and just competing out there. You have more guys. Every guy that comes in is a little bit better than the last, and that's when you have a formula where you're keeping everybody healthy, strong, and winning, which creates a good environment in itself.
We're gonna get back to that concept of having a number of arms because it ties into this season's success with the Mohawks. We'll get to that in a second. Um, so you end up getting through Schenectady County. You mentioned going down to Barton for the final 2 years of your college career, and end up doing very well for yourself down at Barton. Some good numbers down there. Um, but then comes obviously you have to leave college. What you were doing right after college, and what eventually led you down the road of ultimately coming back home and find yourself affiliated with Frozen Ropes?
Um, First 2 summers out of college, I tried to play a little bit of independent ball. I was in the Empire League. Went to Watertown in 2016 and Plattsburgh in 2017. And I had another pretty significant elbow surgery along that time, just thinking I was Superman and I could throw, any day that ended in Y, which never wins for anybody. But I ended up coming home, just realizing I'm a right-handed pitcher. I've had 2 elbow surgeries. I throw in the low 90s. I have a good breaking ball. Stop me if you've heard that before. There's probably a good amount of guys that are just like me that probably do something a little bit better than me. So at some time, the game will tell you when it's time to move on. And fortunately, I got an opportunity with Frozen Ropes in Albany, and that was kind of the changing point. There were a lot of things that got me going in my coaching career. Pretty early they gave me the freedom to do whatever I'd like to do and add in whatever I needed to do on the pitching side and just kind of take it over as my own, and allowed me to have the creativity to work with all ages and all skill levels. And as soon as they supplied me with a Rapsodo and a reliable radar gun and a couple other things, they said go ahead and take off, and took off from there, and just allowed to be creative and just really want to buy in and work every day. That was the biggest thing. I was enjoying what I was doing. I was researching a lot. I was trying to learn every day, and I was testing things out on my own. And that was really the basis for everything. Whatever happens, going forward, it's everyone has that point where you really get off the ground. And I'm just so fortunate to have that opportunity for the last 4.5 current years associated with them.
And before we finally get to the Mohawks, I gotta bring up one other thing. You've also been uh, having this on again, off again relationship with the pitcher's mound still with the Albany
Right.
Athletics.
Right.
Um, how's that been going for you? I know that you just pitched for them. What was it, like 2 months ago? I think they had to make the
Yeah.
phone call and bring the old beard out of the bullpen to come on and throw on an
Yeah.
athletics uniform and get on the bump there. How how you been feeling? How's the arm feeling? And what's that been like being able to play with the athletics?
Well, playing with the Athletics is incredible. I mean, I love those guys. Joe Altieri brings in a great group of guys, veteran heavy. We've been together. I've been there parts of 7 seasons, and you see a lot of the same faces. Their families. You see now their kids running around, and it's a really tight knit atmosphere, and just a bunch of good guys just getting out there, still having the competitive itch. Um, yeah, I mean, this year I didn't really know what I was doing. Obviously, committed to the Mohawks, and we start June 3rd, and the twilight season I think started May 14th. So we did the math and said I might be able to get a couple innings in, and if I can meet the appearance requirement, then I could be eligible for the playoffs if that came about. Totally ignoring the several. Ended up opening night, a couple other appearances, some rest, and picked it up for 4 innings, and still trying to extend my right arm. Much left in it. It's fun when you're out there, but it's not fun for the next 2 weeks. That's for sure.
Well, considering you've had Tommy John surgery, then you had the follow-up elbow surgery. Yeah, I could understand how it would not be fun for a couple weeks for you. Um, so one other thing
Yeah,
involving pitchers that I would like to bring up, and this is something you could even address. Maybe it's something you've actually had conversations with a few of your students at Frozen Ropes, or even some of the guys at the Mohawks. This is something I kind of discussed with Carson Catunia not too long ago when he was on the show. The unwritten rules of baseball, and like for whatever reason, it seems to always be a confrontation between a hitter or a runner and a pitcher. Like the pitcher always seems to be centered around these unwritten rules for some reason.
that's right.
Are you a believer in these unwritten rules? Are there just certain ones that you do believe in and others you don't believe in? What is to be made of these unwritten rules, so to speak?
Well, they're unwritten. They're not written down. They're unwritten. But um, I don't know. Like as a player, if you bat flipped off me because you got one, like you should be that happy that you got one off me. Go ahead. I should have made a better pitch because when I strike you out, in a one run ball game in the ninth inning to end the game, I'm definitely going to let you know. So, I mean, I just think that's part of it. Like if you're competing so hard for something, that goes. I mean, if you want to get into some things, I mean, if you're using technology to bend some of these unwritten rules, then yeah, like I understand that one. But I don't know. For the most part, I think it's a lot to do about nothing. I mean, you know, let boys be boys, go play the game. Keep it clean, definitely. Want to show any, in a 15-run ball game, doing any of that. But if there's a little banter back and forth, I don't think it's always a bad thing. It's sometimes a team needs that spark to get it going and adds a little bit of energy. I really love it to keep playing it. So
So now going to the Mohawks. So first off, before we get knee deep into like your coaching beliefs and all that, let's just talk about how the Mohawks came up. Because obviously you come out of Barton, you go to Frozen Ropes and all that. When was the first time you were approached about being part of the Mohawks coaching staff? And just what has it been like for you to be part of the Mohawks and around that community and around Coach Griffin and all the regular faces you see year to year?
then emailed Brian, said, "Hey, we've been in contact from just being around a baseball field over the last couple of years or so." So I was in good contact with him. Fortunately enough, him and Coach Griff gave me an opportunity to interview, and I did pretty well in the interview. And it was an outstanding opportunity for me. It was something I really wanted. Being a player here in 2013 and 2014, I know from that side how much it means to the community and winning, and how much the people in the community really go out of their way to help the Mohawks and support the Mohawks. There's for that. And the Mohawk family is incredible, and a great opportunity on the field to learn, grow, and in my career, but also see some of the players looking ahead to the playoffs a little bit and saying, "Hey, we're going to have a couple home games," and I mean, home playoff game in that place and be around those people. It's
All right. Well, it looks like unfortunately, oh, there we go. Looks like Zach may be rejoining us. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Just been, you know, stuff happens. Uh, see if we got Zach. Hey, Zach, you there?
Yeah, I see. I think I'm on West Coast time. Yeah, I think I'm on West Coast time. Am I there?
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Um, so real quick, you were just wrapping up about just talking about getting involved in the Mohawks and um, I think you
Yeah, I
last you
mean, just
mentioned was about playoff baseball potentially.
yeah, I mean, the opportunity to play a playoff game and in that environment and play with those people supporting us, and them being able to have the opportunity to see a game with those stakes, that's important, and that's what if we win the.
Now, again, a look at the the way you've been coaching. Like, I know you're very adamant. Just put it in there. If they hit it, congratulations. Like, if they don't hit it, then good on you. Throw it in there again. Basically, what's you hear me, Zach?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Um, it's a very blunt. It's very simple. Just put it in there. It just comes down to basic mathematics in the end of it. How have the boys been embracing you as a coach as far as like you know how pretty simple and direct it is because a lot of guys it seems like they try to overthink it and overcomplicate things a lot, and that's what really messes with a guy's head a lot. But it seems like you take just a very simple and direct approach. Just put it in there. Like how the guy's been taking on that approach with you.
The guys have been great. I mean, they definitely show me a level of respect, and it's fun to be around them. It's fun to work with them, and you kind of get involved, and you want to see them. You want to work harder to play even the little slightest part in their career going forward. Everyone's here to get better, and everyone's here with the goal of moving on to the next level. So, if I can help that even 1%, that's a win in my book. Um, but as far as seeing the approach, these guys are really receptive to seeing some of the numbers. I can go out there and I got a bunch of this to be the smartest person in the room to say, "Wow, we aren't good there," or "Hey, I'm pretty good there," and this is a situation for him. So, if we're game planning, of course, you're always looking, a little bit ahead. What's the situation that could arise? Do we need to get somebody ready? And putting guys repeatedly, it's some of the things. At the end of the day, I guess you could say I'm always going to he can hit a 20-mile-an-hour line drive, and if the shortstop catches it in there, they call them out in baseball. So don't be afraid of anything. I know we play in a field with a 280-foot fence down each line. After PC, odds are always in your favor to get somebody out, and you should not ever be scared to compete about it. And that's try to it's try to that's how simple I try to make things. Like, just go after and compete. Your best is always better.
All right, real quick before I let you go, I have to touch on specifically this season. It's been it's something unlike I've ever seen before, and I've only been with the Mohawks for a few years, but I mean, I, I'm certainly I'm certain that this is also something a sentiment that is shared by a lot of the fans as well. Like this squad this year has just been like out of this world, something special, and it's been doing it all kinds of different ways. I mean, doing it at the plate, scoring 10, 15, 20 runs. It's also been done on the mound in some low scoring tight games as well. Uh, how do you feel the general aura and just camaraderie that's going on with this team? Does it feel different than any of the previous teams you've worked with for the Amsterdam? And what do you see as the scene is winding down over the next week or so when we get to the postseason? What do you see with this team?
Um, from my perspective, especially as the season's gone deeper and the wins have piled up, I just see a bunch of guys that go out there and really enjoy playing on the same field together and playing for each other. There's really something about this group about how close they are and how much they really want to fight together to win a ball game and win a championship. And there's a lot to be said about that. You can't put a number on, um, you know, t- team chemistry, but there's definitely something to be said, and that's the vibe we feel in the dugout. There's no question that all these guys in that dugout are playing for the same team, and they're really going out there playing for each other. And you don't see that very often. You know what it looks like when it's there, but you know, hope as we drive down these, last couple games here going into the playoffs, it's pretty important because it's been a grind. We've played so many games in so little days, but I don't think that's had an effect at all. And everybody knows what's at stake and what we're playing for as the big picture goes. And um, it's going to be really fun to see what this group can do when it matters the most.
It's almost like there's an imaginary, well, not really an imaginary door. It's almost like the guys they show up, and they can feel as good as they want about themselves. But once they walk in the door to that locker room, it seems like all egos are checked there. There's no whining, there's no complaining. It's just, all right, we're here to do a job. Let's go get it done. And obviously, one of the things that's helped out has been just kind of circle back to the one thing you mentioned earlier. A lot of power in numbers with that pitching staff because you have a lot of different arms you can go through as starters. They also got a great share of arms out there that can come in and give you a couple of solid innings out of the bullpen, like a Santosh Ghanem, a Jack Sylvia, Luis Misla, all kinds of different guys have been able to put in some work this year. I mean, it's got to make your life a little bit easier knowing you've got that power numbers out there.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. I'll tell you that. It's a really good problem to have. Some of these, last couple games, if a starter doesn't have it or, we had an injury the other night and nobody panicked. All right, everybody, hey, you guys are hot. Let's go. How are we going to piece this thing to the ninth inning? You're a good matchup here. You're a good matchup here. I like this lane for you. Here you go. And just, trying to communicate as best you can with people. But it's a fun problem to have when you could say, wow, I got, you know, I got 13, 14 guys down in that bullpen. Got 4 or 5 really good starters, and I could probably use just about any of them. And that's when it's fun.
Well, Zach, I definitely appreciate your time on the show. There's a fountain of information when it comes to the boys and when it comes to getting things done on the mound. So I really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot. Um, let's get that playoff push done, and let's bring home that ship. Let's go get that ring in a few weeks. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and keep bringing the energy up in the booth. That's we'll do our part and try to put some over the wall, and you just take it over from there.
Yeah, you've made my part pretty easy this year, I'd say. So don't you worry about me. You just worry about what's going on the field. All right, man.
That's more than enough as it is.
All right. Well, thanks, Zach. I appreciate it. Take care. All right.
Thanks for having me. Anytime.
Yeah, no problem. That was Zach Breen, the pitching coach for the Amsterdam Mohawks, and also an instructor over at Frozen Ropes in Albany. If you want more information, by the way, about the work being done over at Frozen Ropes, just visit frozenropes.com and check them out. And obviously, any information about the Mohawks going forward, just check out amsterdammohawks.com. And now we get to, hey, it's it's a good time to be somebody that's looking to trade in or sell a car off. All right. Let's just be blunt. All right. Mohawk Honda, they're the team that can find what you're looking for by searching their lot, or hell, they'll search up and down the entire Eastern Seaboard to find the vehicle you're looking for your lifestyle, your budget. But it's also a real opportunity for you to trade in or sell your vehicle as Mohawk Honda buys cars. And in some cases, they're going to be able to sell it for more than you paid for it, as the supply chain is still facing challenges, creating a tremendous selling opportunity for you, the customer. All you gotta do is go over to Mohawk Honda, where the buying and selling experience is always very easy, whether it's cars with Kern Svoboda, our boy Trav Landry, Luisa VIP Man Morales, C-Mac, Cam McKenna, or Hell, go to the main man in charge. Go and get it right from the horse's mouth. Go to General Manager Greg Johnson. He'll help you out as well because at Mohawk Honda, Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia, they want to buy your car and maybe even get you into a new car or a newer car that'll fit your budget and lifestyle. Mohawk Honda, Scotia, where they always go out of their way to please you. Real quick, going through with our MLB update. Again, not really too much considering all the things going on with the All Star break this week, but there's something I do want to bring up, and that is this is what I'm going to call very simply as complex week. Yes, yes, it's going to make sense in a moment. But to me, if you break down the three regional teams, Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, there is a complex of sorts that needs to be addressed by each of the three teams. And I'll get to that in a moment by starting with the Boston Red Sox. Obviously, they win the Friday game at Yankee Stadium, end up getting blown out Saturday and Sunday, which takes away all the good feelings you had from Friday. And right now, the Red Sox find themselves in a peculiar spot now as they've fallen out of second place all the way down to fourth, 16 and a half behind the Yankees, 3.5 behind Toronto, and behind Tampa, and 2 games behind Toronto. Um, they still find themselves in a decent spot as far as the wild card chase is concerned, as Tampa and Seattle are separated by half a game for the 2 wild card spots, and then Toronto is a game behind, which puts obviously the Red Sox 3 behind for the second wild card spot. But the complex that occurs in Boston right now is injuries. Yes, injuries. It's been a constant problem on and off throughout the year. Chris Sale just came back, got started for the season. His second start back, he's in Yankee Stadium. He takes a line drive off his hand. He fractures his pinky finger. He undergoes surgery. And now the team is hoping he can just pitch again at some point the rest of the season. So it's possible you only got 1+ start out of Chris Sale this year. Just just freaking bonkers. And then the other thing, Trevor Story on the IL. He has a wrist injury. How long is that going to take? And let me tell you this, as somebody who's watched guys come off of wrist injuries before, they are not very simple to come back from, especially as a hitter. Tremendously, tremendously difficult for a hitter, especially if they have a lot of wrist action within their swing and in their batting motion to get themselves back to 100% and hitting the ball as they were before. Now, and also on top of that, factor in Trevor Story was your leader in RBIs on the team. And I also do believe he was the leading home run hitter, if I remember correctly. Bear with me for a second as I do pull up those statistics. Yeah, Story, Devers leads the team in home runs, but still 58 RBI leads the team for Trevor Story with Devers at 55. So it's it's just a crazy complex to have. And then the other complex I'll bring up right now is a home run complex. Because you take Devers and Story off the team, there's nobody else with more than 9 home runs. Vasquez has 6, Dahlback has 7, Xander has 7, um, Verdugo has 6. Kike's been on the IL for what seems like forever. He has 4. JD Martinez has 9. JBJ has 1. Cordero and Arroyo each have 4. Refsnyder has 3. Like, this is definitely a team that's more trying to hit for average this year than they are for power. As you see the averages of Vasquez at 273, Bogarts 316, Devers 324, Verdugo 262, JD 302. There's a serious lack of the long ball on this squad. And then to add to the injury complex, I mean, Rich Hill still injured, Michael Waka still injured, Josh Winkowski still injured. Just a tough, tough run of injuries for this Red Sox team. And now it kind of makes you wonder, do they push? Do they push hard enough to get a wild card? Because let's be frank with ourselves. This is not a Red Sox team that's built to win the World Series. It's just not. So do you push yourself just to get into a wild card spot to ultimately get eliminated in the ALDS or the ALCS? Or do you take a step back and think, let's retool and rebuild? Let's get pieces for JD Martinez. Let's get pieces for this, that, or the other thing. Makes things interesting as far as that's concerned. Before we get to the Mets and the Yankees, Just want to remind you that this New York baseball segment is brought to you by our friends over at Johnstone Supply. Summer's here, especially this week. Like I said, hazy, hot, and humid. It is hot outside this week. You can feel that heat, man. And if you want to stay cool all summer long indoors, unlike me, as I'm in an office that doesn't have any air conditioning or a fan for that matter, call the Johnstone Supply in Troy. Ask the team about their high efficiency central AC systems and ductless mini splits. They have tremendous brands such as Goodman, Fujitsu, and Westinghouse all in stock and at great prices. And if you need someone to help install the new system, not a problem because Johnstone Supply in Troy can help with that too. Talk to Tom, Kev, James Bird, whoever you want, and they will put you in a cooler place for the remainder of the summer. Call Johnstone Supply in Troy, 518-272-5922, or just give them a visit over at their store in 2600 6th Avenue in Troy. Get yourself a new AC system today. Do not catch yourself sweating away the rest of the summer. Make sure you can stay cool for the remainder of the summer. Again, 2600 Avenue, 6th Avenue in Troy, or 518-272-5922. Also, check them out, johnstonesupply.com. Now moving from the Red Sox over to the Mets. It's pretty crazy. First off, DeGrom, he goes 4 innings pitched, 1 run, 4 Ks in his rehab start in Syracuse last Thursday. Was going to throw a sim game during the All-Star break, but they pushed that back. He might do it tomorrow as we're recording right now, Wednesday, July 20th. They're originally going to try to do it Sunday or Monday. But on Sunday, DeGrom will experience a little shoulder discomfort, but did throw both Monday and Tuesday. So things look a lot better in that regard, but is something to worry about potentially as they wait and see. Right now, they're hoping for Thursday to take care of that sim game, however. But the complex the Mets have, I mean, they're in a good spot. So there's not really a whole lot to have a complex about. They're 2.5 clear of the Braves, 8.5 clear of the Phillies. They're 58-35, one of the best records in baseball. Injuries, I mean, James McCann's on the injured list. Other than that, you got McGill, and then obviously you're waiting for DeGrom. So I wouldn't say injuries are really a big thing right now. The big thing right now is me trying to figure out these hit by pitch numbers when it comes to Major League Baseball. The New York Mets right now have, and of course, the picture I took has overshadowed everything. So the New York Mets have 63 hit by pitches. Canha leads the team with 10, 9 apiece for Nimmo and Alonso, 7 on Lindor, 7 on Marte. When you take a look at other teams, the Mets, by the way, lead the league 63. I don't understand it. The next closest team is Cincinnati with 57, Baltimore 56, the Giants 52, the Mariners 52, the Cubs 47. So 3 of those 5 teams I just mentioned are not even close to being anywhere in the playoff picture. Seattle could be potentially if they get on a run, and the Giants could be if they get on a run. But let me just bring up a few other teams real quick, okay, that have pretty decent lineups. Boston has 36. Toronto, we all know the firepower they have in their lineup. The Toronto lineup has 37. The New York Yankees, okay, 64-28. One of the best records to start off a 92-game season in franchise history. 40 hit batsmen. The Mets are far and away going through this problem more than any other team in baseball. And there has to be some kind of explanation to it. Like, I'm not understanding it. I'm not understanding how the Mets are going through this right now. And it's a constant thing that's really ticked off Buck Showalter and ticked off some of the players. And I don't blame them. It's a problem. It's a big, big problem, and it seems like nobody in MLB wants to address it. Nobody wants to even bother. But I suppose it is what it is. I don't even know what to say at this point. Like, just a lot of ridiculousness, to be quite honest. The final thing, the New York Yankees. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the schedules for the respective teams. Boston, they have 3 with Toronto this weekend, followed by 4 in Cleveland Monday through Thursday. The Mets are off until Friday as well. They have 3 at home against the Padres, and they're off Monday before a short 2-game Subway Series against the Yankees at Citi Field. As for the Yankees, their news and notes: Jonathan Loaiza got his first appearance off the IL against Cincinnati this last week. Woof, woof. Sevy goes on the 15-day deal with a low-grade lat strain. Not expected to throw for another 2 weeks. Yay. On the good side, still on the bad side, they lose 2 out of 3 to Cincinnati, but then on the good side, they take 2 out of 3 from Boston. So the crappy feeling you had coming out of the Cincy series, you made up for in the Boston series, especially those Saturday and Sunday games. So now this begs the question, one thing real quick. The chances of Aaron Judge getting to 61, which we're 92 games in. Judge has played in 89. So he's gotten 3 days rest over the course of the 92 game season thus far. He has 33 home runs, which puts him right around the area of that 61, 62 home run mark. I have heard it argued that the Yankees might purposely hold him back from getting 61 and give him extra rest during the second half. That to me is absurd. And not only would that be absurd to Aaron Judge, I think that would be absurd to a lot of Yankee fans. Because the number 61 hasn't meant jack in a quarter decade because of what happened with McGuire and Sosa and Bonds. Not even a chance for a Yankee to make that number feel important again to Yankee fans. And make it feel really important. Because Judge is in a contract year. And everybody knows about the contract negotiations that have happened on and off between Judge and his representation and the Yankees. If I'm Aaron Judge and they end up doing that, I'd be pissed to high heaven about that. Supremely pissed off about that. But that's not the complex I want to get to. The complex I really want to get to involving the Yankees is the Joey Gallo complex. Now, obviously, they've gotten to a point now where Joey Gallo is more expendable than ever before because Matt Carpenter has been ridiculously good since joining the Yankees, which now gives you legitimately, in my mind, 4 and potentially 5 outfielders to rotate through there, which would be Hicks, Carpenter, Stanton, Judge, and potentially LeCastro. So Gallo becomes supremely expendable. So let's just say this. Let's just sum everything up for Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo has officially reached Kagawa and Carl Pavano territory. New York did not work. This is a failed experiment. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Joey just not liking New York. I don't know if it's just him going through crazy struggles. But since he's joined the team, he's been averaging over a strikeout a game. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. He's still batting 164. He struck out 98 times. He's striking out once for every 3 plate appearances. All right? Or less than that, actually. He struck out 98 times in 257 plate appearances over 75 games. He's averaging a strikeout at less than 3 plate appearances. And now the plate appearances that are official at bats, which are 219, that brings the ratio even closer to 2-1. Now, yes, he also is fifth on the team in walks with 38. But does that really absolve the 98 strikeouts and a buck 64 batting average? 36 hits. 36 hits. Now, because Joey Gallo, almost a third of those hits are home runs. But they're typically either A, meaningless home runs, and just, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. To me, you're at a point where you could even DFA Joey Gallo if you want. They're not going to because there's too much money attached to him. But this is a complex that needs to be answered at some point. I don't know how, I don't know when, but at some point between now and when you expand to 40 in September, this has to be addressed by someone in the Yankees front office. That being said, the schedule coming up, they're doing a random doubleheader at Houston tomorrow. I don't know why. Don't ask me. Then they play 3 in Baltimore Friday through Sunday before having Monday off, and then 2 at Citi Field against the Mets before coming back home to Yankee Stadium. So interesting scheduling there from MLB. You do what you got to do with it. That being said, that's it. That's episode 16 of Cady's Corner. Thank you very much for checking out the show. Presented by Godzilla Media. Sponsored by our good friends over at Mohawk Honda, SeatGeek.com, and at John Stone Supply in Troy. Try to stay cool the rest of the week. This weather is crazy. 90s all week, a lot of humidity. Try to stay cool if you can. And I hope you've enjoyed your All Star break. And let's get back to some baseball. All right. Enjoy.